What's going on, everyone? The Lakers and Rob Pelinka are currently exploring trades to try to upgrade the roster. The problem is I don't think one individual trade is going to save the day, right? I don't think like a Buddy Hield and Miles Turner trade by itself is going to help. And I don't think Rob Pelinka does either. We got a report today that Rob Pelinka has explored and will continue to explore 3 and 4 team possibilities, right? Or even individual deals, right? So if you could do like, say, a Pacers trade and then like a smaller trade to maybe get 1 or 2 pieces, it all of a sudden, if you get 3 or 4, maybe even 5 guys that can really sort of turn this roster around, now you're in a position to be really good, right? And that is something that you could keep in mind, going forward as Rob Pelinka starts looking for deals, maybe putting different combinations together to really sort of rehaul this roster. Because the Lakers do. The Lakers need a sort of rehaul. I don't think they have a bad roster, but I do think that some new blood, some new faces, some new excitement, moving off of Russ, I just think would really help this Lakers team. So one of the things that is out there that's rumored is, again, the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner trade, but also the San Antonio Spurs trade. Now, what if the Lakers could actually combine both trades? Now, you might think like that sounds ridiculous, and this is just an idea. It's not something that necessarily will happen or could happen, but it is something that has potential, right? The Spurs were willing to work out 3-team deals with the Nets and the Lakers. Why not include the Spurs in another deal, right? They were even willing to get involved in the Knicks deal back when that was a conversation as well. So what if you could combine, say, the Pacers, Spurs, and Lakers to create a deal? So let's say San Antonio gets Russell Westbrook, right? They would get Russ and say like a first-round pick, maybe some pick swaps, whatever. The key is you'd have to keep at least one of your firsts. So if you could move Russell Westbrook, a first and like a pick swap or maybe a couple seconds to the Spurs, then there you go. Spurs got Russell Westbrook. They're going to buy out Russell Westbrook. That was kind of always the plan. Like even in the Nets deal, they were willing to take on Russ for 1 first, but that's because it was just they were absorbing the salary. Well, now you'd be getting some assets in that. So is that something that the Spurs would be willing to work out with you for a first and like a pick swap or a first and a second? But let's assume that the Lakers could trade Russ a first and 2 seconds to San Antonio, and then they received McDermott and they received Josh Richardson, but also they were able to get a 21.1, 21.2 trade exception. Right, so they'd have a $21 million trade exception. They would have Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott for Russell Westbrook and a first, plus, a couple seconds or whatever. So the Lakers right then and there get 2 quality players in that deal, right? Richardson is a high-value player, 2-way guy, could knock down the 3, could be your starting shooting guard, could even play small forward in certain matchups. He's got some good size, some good length to him. He is absolutely balling for the Spurs right now, and he's a guy that they might be willing to get off of. Also, these 2 would keep your, flexibility and cap space, which would be really good. McDermott gives you that shooter that many people want, just a sort of sniper, and this immediately upgrades your shooting. Now, again, I don't think these 2 will turn all of the Lakers' fates around 3-point shooting, but what if you could get more? Again, so you get Josh Richardson, you get McDermott, you give up Russell Westbrook a first and 2 seconds, and then you go and flip that trade exception for, say, a Miles Turner or maybe a Buddy Hield. Right? You could use that trade exception and a first to go get one of these 2 guys. So, like, what if you could get Richardson, McDermott, and Turner? Or Richardson, McDermott, and Buddy Hield, right? And you basically turn one deal into basically 3 quality guys. Now you got, if you get Buddy Hield, now you got 3 shooters, right? If you get Miles Turner, well, now you got, a center and 2 shooters. So now you could run a lineup of, say, LeBron, Richardson, McDermott, Davis, and Turner, right? And that gives you shooting, that gives you floor spacing, that gives you shot blocking, that gives you defense, that gives you a little bit of everything. Now, Doug McDermott, I have a little concerns defensively, but he might even serve better coming off the bench, but then you could play like a Walker, right? So maybe you have Walker play the 3 or LeBron play the 3, and he kind of runs as that, point forward type player. He's really the point guard, but for defensive purposes, you have Richardson and Walker at the 2. You get what I'm saying? Like, you could really see the Lakers sort of roster completely turned around. And plus, you'd still have guys like Kendrick Nunn, Patrick Beverley, Austin Reeves, guys like that off the bench to really provide, some bench scoring, some bench defense, and you'd really have a really solid team. Now, if you get Buddy Hield, well, then you got Josh Richardson, you got Buddy Hield, and you got Doug McDermott, all capable of shooting 38 to 40% from three. There you go. Again, another sort of turnaround for a team that lacks shooting. Well, now you got some shooting. And I've said, I don't think Buddy Hield, changes the fate of the Lakers. But I think 3 Buddy Hields would. I think having 3 guys that can knock down the shot, I think could really help. And you could kind of work out a deal like that. Now, let's say the Lakers want both Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, right? So let's say you get Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, right? You want Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. So now you're talking 4 players. But the trade exception, you would need to include more. Now, you could either do multiple deals, kind of like, so say, obviously the Pacers would have to be willing to take 1 first. But let's say they are willing to take 1 first for that trade exception. They don't have to take on Russell Westbrook. They get a trade exception. Maybe you give a pick swap and a couple seconds. The Lakers have basically all their seconds to trade. So maybe you could do that for 1 first because the Pacers are like, well, we could use that trade. That trade exception becomes more valuable to us than just buying out Russell Westbrook, right? So now you actually added some inherent value to this deal. So how do you meet the gap? Well, you could trade a Patrick Beverley. So now you trade Patrick Beverley, the trade exception, and maybe that other first, and you get back a Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. Now you could end up realistically with a Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, Buddy Hield, and Miles Turner. So now you got basically an entire new starting 5 to add to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You could have McDermott come off the bench. You could have a starting 5 again of LeBron, Richardson, Hield, Davis, and Turner if you want, or you could have Buddy Hield and Anthony Davis, or Buddy Hield and Doug McDermott come off the bench. It just would give you so much more potential because now, so you got $21 million in a trade exception. Patrick Beverley's making about $12 million a year, so that gives you $32 million. You got Buddy Hield and Miles Turner making about 34, $35 million, but you got the 125% rule. So you could be in a position to go get guys like that. Like I said, you might have to do individual deals, but Patrick Beverley, you could trade Patrick Beverley straight up for a Buddy Hield or even a Miles Turner, and then trade, the trade exception straight up for like a Miles Turner or Buddy Hield, whichever you want, however you want to work it. So they have multiple ways that they could go about this to make this a deal, but they could. I mean, realistically speaking, I'm not saying that it will happen again. I just want to clarify. I don't want people to get too excited, but realistically speaking, you could turn Russell Westbrook and Patrick Beverley into Josh Richardson, Doug McDermott, Buddy Hield, and Miles Turner. You basically just rehauled your entire roster. You got 3 guys that can shoot the ball, a center that can shoot the ball, a center that can shoot. Also, with a deal like this, you can weather and take the risk and the chance on a Miles Turner, right? Because the big concern is Miles Turner's injury history. If Miles Turner goes down and you did a Buddy Hield and Miles Turner deal, and now all you got is Buddy Hield, you're in trouble. But if you got Richardson, McDermott, and Buddy Hield, and say a Miles Turner goes down, you have enough shooting and just playmaking and defense between everybody else that you're still going to be a really good team. Where in this kind of trade, situation, Miles Turner is kind of just icing on the cake, right? It's kind of just an extra add-on, low risk or high reward type of deal. If it doesn't work out, you just let him go. This still keeps some cap flexibility, not a ton. Buddy Hield, unless you can move him up. But look, if you add these 4 to LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and the other guys they have, Dennis Schroeder, Reeves, Nunn, Walker, the guys that you're legit 10 players deep, all can contribute, all can be really good. You got shooting, you got defense, you got everything you could need. Everything you could need, everything you could ask for. This, I think, could make the Lakers a legit contender. This, I think, the Lakers okay, now they're now we need to take the Lakers serious here because they would have depth, they would have everything. Everything you could ask for in a deal like this. And you'd give up both your firsts. One would go to the Spurs, one would go to the Pacers. The Pacers might like it more because they get a trade exception, right? The reason they want both firsts is because they're looking at it as like, Russell Westbrook, we can't do anything with Russell Westbrook. We're going to buy him out and we get nothing, right? Where a trade exception, they can use that trade exception. So it becomes, now they actually get some value. So if they want to get a couple like mid-tier guys or something like that, or a young guy that, or make a move for a trade or something, they actually have some flexibility. So now that has some value beyond a draft pick, right? So now you're getting a first, you're getting a trade exception, we're getting Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, Patrick Beverley is an expiring deal, so he doesn't mess up your cap space situation. We're taking on Buddy Hield's multi-year deal, right? If you're the Spurs, you're getting a first round pick, a couple seconds, maybe a pick swap, something like that for guys, and you're a tanking team. It's a win-win, I think, for everybody, and it could legitimately work and make sense. The Lakers would have a complete rehaul of the roster. The Spurs, they get to go tank, so do the Pacers. They all get assets in their deal. Lakers are now in a position to kind of take a risk on a Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. And if it works, you resign everybody and you're good to go. Go back to back, see how it works out. I just think that this gives you a lot more flexibility, a lot more potential in general. Again, this is just kind of an idea of putting everything together. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm not saying it should happen. I'm not saying anything. It's just an idea. But Rob Pelinka is exploring multi-team deals, and this is a deal that could work and that could make sense, right? And the Lakers could go from Russell Westbrook, Patrick Beverley, to basically these four guys. And I know some people, just last little note before we sign off here, I know some people will be like, the Lakers have a full roster spot. How do you end up filling the other two guys in? Well, you're moving off of Patrick Beverley. You're moving off of Russell Westbrook, right? So let's say that takes the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner spots. Well, you could waive Wenyen Gabriel, waive Matt Ryan. There you go. Now you have the four spots for the four guys you bring in. Simple, easy. You don't need Matt Ryan anymore because you got three guys that can shoot and are proven in the league rather than hoping a Matt Ryan turns into a Duncan Robinson. All is right in the world. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think of this deal? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it could happen? Do you think it should happen? However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below.